You're standing on a bridge. Behind you, your own army is retreating. In front of you, an entire enemy force marching straight at you. Thousands of soldiers, spears, swords, arrows, cavalry, and you've got a sword, maybe a shield, and zero realistic chance of walking away. Normally, this is where you die in about 3 seconds, and history forgets you. But sometimes one soldier really does hold the line long enough to change what happens next. Today we're talking about some of the most insane last stands in military history. Real people who looked at an advancing army and thought, I'll buy us some time. First stop, early Rome, when one collapsing bridge and one stubborn officer stood between the city and disaster. It's around 508 BC. Rome is still basically a startup city, and an Etruscan king named Lars Porsena is marching in with an army to shut it down. There's one main way into the city, a wooden bridge over the Tiber. If the Etruscans cross it, Rome is finished. So the Romans decide to destroy the bridge, and someone has to hold it until it collapses. That someone is a Roman officer named Horatius Cocles. He and 2 other soldiers step onto the bridge and block the narrow path, while workers behind them start hacking at the supports. The Etruscans charge, but the bridge is so narrow, their numbers don't help. They can't swarm. They have to come at Horatius a few at a time. Shields slam, swords clash. The whole structure shakes while axes bite into the wood behind him. Eventually, the supports are almost gone. Horatius tells his 2 companions to retreat. They sprint off the bridge. Now it's just him. One man, shield up, holding off an army, standing on a bridge that is literally being destroyed behind his back. He keeps fighting long enough for the last beams to break. The bridge gives way, planks crash into the river, then Horatius jumps into the Tiber in full armor. He somehow makes it to the Roman bank alive. The Etruscans can't cross. Rome survives. Later writers absolutely embellish this, but Romans repeat the story for centuries because it sums up their favorite idea. When everything is falling apart, someone stands in the gap and says, "Not yet." Fast forward to England, 1066. Same problem, different armor. Harold Hardrada, King of Norway, invades England with a Viking army. King Harold Godwinson rushes north, catches them by surprise at Stamford Bridge, and suddenly the Vikings are in trouble. Most of the Norsemen are on one side of the river. Their armor and reinforcements are on the other. The bridge is the only way to reconnect the army, so one Viking steps onto the bridge and decides to hold it alone. We don't know his name. Sources just describe a huge warrior, probably a berserker, the kind of fighter who treats fear and pain as background noise. He plants himself in the middle of the bridge with a massive axe and dares the English to cross. They charge him. Waves. Anyone who tries to get past him gets cut down. Bodies pile up. The bridge gets so slippery with blood that English soldiers literally slip as they run at him. One medieval chronicle claims he killed around 40 men. Even if that number's inflated, everyone agrees on the important part. For a while, no one can get past this one man. Eventually, the English stop playing fair. A small group sneaks under the bridge in a boat, looks up between the planks, and drives a spear straight into him from below. The Viking who shrugged off sword blows and arrows dies because someone stabbed him through the floor. He falls. The English finally cross. The Vikings lose the battle. The invasion collapses, but his last stand buys time. It doesn't save the army, but it turns what could have been instant annihilation into an actual fight. And then history forgets his name. Now jump back to Greece, 480 BC, and the most famous last stand of all, Thermopylae. Xerxes, king of Persia, invades Greece with a massive army. To slow him down, King Leonidas of Sparta takes 300 Spartans plus a few thousand allies and blocks a narrow coastal pass at Thermopylae, the one lane only of battlefields. For 2 days, wave after wave of Persians slam into the Greek line and get pushed back. In that tight space, sheer numbers matter less. It's shields, spears, discipline, and the Spartans are built for this. Then a local trader shows the Persians a hidden path through the hills. Leonidas realizes they'll soon be surrounded. He sends most of the Greeks away and stays with his 300 Spartans and about 700 Thespians who choose to remain. Before the end, someone warns a Spartan named Dionysus that the Persian archers are so numerous their arrows will block out the sun. Dionysus just shrugs and says, "Good, then we'll fight in the shade." When the arrows come, the sky darkens. The Spartans raise their shields and keep fighting. Eventually, the Persians encircle them from front and back. Leonidas is killed. The remaining Spartans and Thespians fight until they're buried under bodies. On the battlefield map, it's a defeat. Everyone who stayed behind dies. But strategically, their last stand works. It buys enough time for cities like Athens to evacuate and for the Greek navy to set up a decisive win at Salamis shortly after. Thermopylae doesn't stop the invasion, but it slows it just long enough for the rest of Greece to land the real blow. And that's the pattern in all these stories. Horatius on the bridge, the nameless Viking at Stamford Bridge, Dionysus and the Spartans at Thermopylae. They don't single-handedly beat entire armies. This isn't about one man versus 10,000 in a fair fight. It's about time. If I stand here and fight, I'll probably die, but everyone behind me gets a chance to escape, regroup, or win later. We remember these last stands because they show that courage isn't about being invincible. It's about being willing to be the person who doesn't run, even when running would be completely understandable. Horatius was almost certainly terrified. The Viking on the bridge probably knew how his day would end. The Spartans joked about fighting in the shade because humor is how people deal with a bad ending they can't avoid. They stood anyway, they fought anyway, and because they did, history bent a little around them. The real lesson isn't that one person can stop an army forever. It's that one person in the right place can delay an army long enough for everyone else to matter. Sometimes a last stand doesn't save the day. Sometimes it just buys the minutes someone else needs to save it later. And sometimes that's enough to change everything.